You may have taken all the courses, read all the books, and repeated all the affirmations. But if you keep allowing what drains your energy, nothing will change. The truth is simple. Your vibration doesn't drop by chance. It drops because you still tolerate the intolerable. This may be hard to hear, but it's freeing. Because the moment you decide what you will never allow again, your frequency shifts instantly. The universe responds to clear boundaries, not hidden excuses. Today, I'll reveal the 7 attitudes a high vibration woman never allows. Once you understand this, you'll realize your life doesn't change by what you attract, but by what you have the courage to refuse. A high vibration woman is not the one who never makes mistakes, but the one who refuses to live disconnected from her essence. It's as if she carries an inner compass always pointing toward truth, even when the world screams otherwise. She understands she doesn't need to follow external standards to be whole, because the abundance she seeks is already within her. Think of a friend who walks into a room and without saying a word, shifts the entire energy. It's not because she wears the most expensive clothes, but because she carries a silent confidence, almost magnetic. This is the sign of someone living in alignment. Her vibration is not measured by what she shows off, but by what she radiates. Many women believe being high vibration means being always happy, glowing, and zen, but that's an illusion. True high vibration is born from awareness, knowing what you tolerate and what you no longer allow in your life. It is less about forced brightness and more about radical integrity. This awareness brings an immediate practical effect: peace. When you decide you will no longer submit to certain things, toxic relationships, imposed guilt, endless comparisons, your body breathes differently. The weight that once felt natural suddenly vanishes. It is like opening a stuffy room and letting fresh air rush in. Living in high vibration means understanding that abundance is not only about money, but also vital energy, time, and mental space. An aligned woman knows her life is too precious to waste in places and situations that drain her strength. This awareness alone already transforms the way she walks through the world. Imagine that every decision is an energetic filter. When you say yes to what honors your soul, your frequency rises. When you say yes to what exhausts you, your frequency drops. The choice seems simple, yet it's powerful, because each small decision builds the woman you will become in the future. That is why a high vibration woman does not live to please or fit in. She understands that her energy is her most valuable treasure and must be protected with clarity. If the universe responds to what you vibrate, then protecting your frequency is the greatest act of self-care that exists. And here lies the secret. It's not about perfection, but about awareness. A conscious woman knows exactly what she no longer allows in her life, and when this clarity takes root, she becomes magnetic by nature. But before understanding how this unfolds, we need to look at the first attitude that has no place on this path. A high vibration woman never accepts staying in connections that drain her energy. She understands that being alone is never true loneliness, but the freedom to breathe again. This understanding changes how she sees relationships, not as dependence, but as healthy exchange. Remaining in toxic bonds is like trying to swim with stones tied to your feet. No matter how hard you try, you never move forward. The conscious woman recognizes when the stone isn't hers, but belongs to someone determined to drain her strength. And instead of sinking together, she chooses to cut the ropes. This cut is not simple, because guilt and fear appear like ghosts. What if I never find someone better? Or, what if I'm selfish for leaving this relationship? But the truth is that leaving a connection that destroys your peace is an act of self-love, and self-love is never selfish. Practical example, many women have felt after hanging up the phone or leaving a conversation an immediate physical exhaustion. That is the sign of drained energy. A high vibration woman learns to identify this symptom, and instead of ignoring it, uses it as a compass to decide who she truly connects with. She also knows that bonds are not only romantic, they can be friendships, co-workers, or even family. If the exchange isn't balanced, if the constant presence is heavy, she allows herself to create distance, because she knows that the absence of peace costs more than any connection. This doesn't mean closing herself off from the world, but cultivating an inner garden where only those who respect the energy inside are allowed to enter. A high-vibration woman selects who she shares her time with, and because of that, her connections become richer, more authentic, and nourishing. The process is liberating. She discovers that being alone sometimes is better than sharing life with someone who doesn't value her. Conscious solitude can be the fertile soil where new friendships and loves blossom, all vibrating at the same frequency. And it is at this point that one of the greatest revelations arises. It is not enough to cut the bond. You must also keep your light shining without apologizing for it. A high-vibration woman never apologizes for being intense, wise, or powerful. She understands her light was not made to fit into small spaces, but to expand and illuminate. To shrink so as not to disturb others is the same as denying her destiny. From childhood, women often hear phrases like, "Don't be bossy, don't show off, speak more quietly." These messages stick, and in adulthood, they may turn into an unconscious habit of shrinking. The high-vibration woman breaks this pattern and chooses to take up her full space. She knows that when she dims herself to fit into others, life loses its color. It's like trying to watch a sunset with dark sunglasses. You see something, but you don't feel the glow. On the contrary, when she expresses her fullness, she attracts people who are not afraid of intensity, but who celebrate it. Practical example: a woman who avoids sharing her opinion in meetings, afraid of being judged as arrogant, loses the chance to influence important decisions. When she chooses to speak with firmness and clarity, she realizes her voice opens doors, and others begin to respect her even more. This attitude is not about imposing herself aggressively, but about not shrinking to become acceptable. A conscious woman understands the difference between arrogance and authenticity. Arrogance seeks to dominate, while authenticity seeks to express truth without masks. Being authentic may cause discomfort to those who live on appearances, but that is not her problem. The high-vibration woman does not measure her light by the discomfort of others. She knows that when her presence unsettles, it's because her truth is exposing the shadows they try to hide. By allowing herself to shine, she silently gives permission for other women to do the same. One woman's courage inspires the courage of many. That is how feminine energy strengthens, not in the silence of repression, but in the echo of authenticity. And at this point, one of the greatest myths shows up: the belief that money and spirituality are incompatible, something many women still carry. A high-vibration woman does not accept the lie that money and spirituality are enemies. She understands that prosperity is simply the natural extension of expanded consciousness. After all, if the universe is abundant, why should her life be lived in scarcity? For centuries, many women were conditioned to believe that seeking wealth meant betraying spiritual purity. This myth was used to control and limit their power. But the conscious woman realizes that prosperity does not distance her from the soul. On the contrary, it allows her to serve more and with greater impact. It's like the metaphor of a candle. Lighting another flame does not diminish its light, it only multiplies. Money, when aligned with the heart, multiplies the good that can be done. It does not corrupt, it simply amplifies the frequency of whoever uses it. Practical example: imagine a healer who refuses to charge for her sessions, believing spirituality should not be paid for. The result is exhaustion, lack of energy, and unpaid bills. When she learns to value her work, she sees that the money received is a fair exchange of energy. The high-vibration woman understands that the problem was never money itself, but the consciousness with which it is used. It can be a prison or a liberation, depending on who holds it. In conscious hands, money becomes a bridge to create, support, and expand. She also recognizes that rejecting money is rejecting life's own abundance. The energy of money circulates like blood. If you block it, the body gets sick. If you let it flow, it strengthens every cell. Prosperity is vital flow. This awareness even changes the way she positions herself in the world. Instead of hiding for fear of seeming materialistic, she embraces prosperity as part of practical spirituality. And by doing so, she opens the way for other women to do the same. And it is precisely here that another dangerous attitude must be avoided: falling into the trap of comparison and competition. A high-vibration woman does not measure her worth by what another woman does or achieves. She understands that every path is unique and that comparison is an invisible prison. When she lives in comparison, she loses sight of her own light, like trying to watch the sun through a rearview mirror. Competition is born from the fear of scarcity, the belief that there is only space for a few. But the universe doesn't work that way. It is abundant, fertile, and generous. The conscious woman understands that another's victory does not diminish hers, but signals that it is also possible for her. This awareness changes her stance in relationships. Instead of feeling envy when she sees a friend thriving, she celebrates. Because she knows that by vibrating gratitude for another's success, she is aligning her frequency to attract something similar. What you celebrate, you draw closer. Practical example. An entrepreneur who sees another expanding her business can choose between two routes. In comparison, she feels small and incapable. In collaboration, she feels inspired and may even create partnerships that multiply results. The same scenario, but two entirely different vibrations. The high-vibration woman also realizes that constant competition creates emotional exhaustion. It is like running an endless marathon against people who are not even looking at you. Instead of wasting energy trying to prove something, she invests it in blooming at her own pace. This does not mean a lack of ambition, but healthy ambition. She wants to grow, yes, but without losing her soul in the process. She understands that growth is sustainable when it comes from authenticity, not from the rush to surpass someone else. This collaborative perspective strengthens female bonds. When one woman chooses to support instead of compete, she opens space for a collective movement of expansion. And in that space, everyone shines together, But to sustain this posture, one must release one of the greatest ghosts holding women back: guilt and the constant fear of outside judgment. A high-vibration woman does not allow herself to be imprisoned by guilt, especially the kind others try to place on her shoulders. She understands that guilt is a tool of control, used to restrict her freedom of choice. When she frees herself from that weight, she walks lightly, no longer asking permission to exist. External judgment is not a compass for her life either. She knows there will always be someone to criticize, whether for her choices, her appearance, or even her silence. But instead of living as a hostage to others' opinions, she chooses to live as a guardian of her own truth. Many women were raised to believe that desiring something, whether money, pleasure, or recognition, is wrong, as if wanting more was the same as being selfish. The conscious woman, however, understands that desire is the soul's language. It points toward paths that bring her closer to her essence. Practical example: a mother who feels guilty for investing time in herself, believing she should devote every minute to her children. By reversing the logic, she discovers that by caring for herself, she is also caring for them, because she offers a presence that is more whole, healthy, and loving. Guilt can also disguise itself as kindness. How many times has someone said, "You've changed," as if it were negative? A high-vibration woman knows that change means growth, and if her growth bothers others, that's not her problem, but a mirror revealing their own stagnation. The same goes for judgment. It may hurt at first, but it loses power once she realizes opinions are reflections of the inner world of those who give them. Judgments speak more about the judge than about the one being judged. This detachment makes her free. Free to choose what she desires, free to create an aligned life, free to live without the burden of pleasing everyone. And in this freedom, her vibration expands, because she no longer carries invisible chains. And at this point, another fundamental dimension arises: the female body and its cycles, which are not weaknesses, but portals of power that must be honored. A high-vibration woman does not treat her body as an enemy, but as a temple. She understands that her cycles are not flaws to be hidden, but sacred rhythms that connect her to the universe. Denying this bodily wisdom is like trying to erase the moon from the sky, impossible and meaningless. From an early age, many women are taught to see the body as a source of shame or limitation. Menstruation is weakness, resting is laziness, pleasure is sin. These distorted narratives break the bond with their own biology and create a gap between woman and vital energy. The conscious woman, however, honors each phase of the cycle as a key to power. In the fertile period, she feels her creative force expanding. In the time of retreat, she knows introspection is also wisdom. She doesn't fight her body, she walks alongside it. Practical example: a woman who tries to maintain the same level of productivity every day of the month ends up exhausted. By learning to align important tasks with her cycle, such as using ovulation for meetings and premenstrual phase for creation, she discovers a natural flow that strengthens her. She also recognizes that pleasure is not weakness, but the language of the divine. Whether through dance, touch, mindful food, or intimacy, each bodily experience can become spiritual when lived with presence. The body is a portal, not a prison. To deny the body is to deny part of her own spirituality. A high-vibration woman understands that intuition often rises from bodily sensations. The butterflies in the stomach, the racing heart, the goosebumps on her skin, signals the body sends before the mind can grasp them. By reconciling with her biology, she breaks generations of repression. She becomes a living example for other women, showing that it is possible to be strong without rejecting vulnerability, and to be spiritual without denying the physical. The body ceases to be a burden and becomes power again. And it is precisely here that the next key arises: the courage not to repress her own voice, even when that means confronting the silence others try to impose. A high-vibration woman does not silence herself to maintain a false peace. She understands that suppressing her truth is like extinguishing a candle in a dark room. Everyone remains in the shadows. Her voice is not just a right, it is a responsibility to her own soul. From early on, many women are taught to not cause trouble. The instruction is: smile, agree, don't argue. But this obedience creates deep wounds, because every time they swallow words, they also swallow pieces of themselves. The price of silence is always too high. The conscious woman realizes her voice doesn't need to be loud to be strong. It can be gentle yet firm, loving yet non-negotiable. Strength is not in volume, but in clarity. Speaking her truth is declaring to the world, "I exist fully." Practical example: imagine a professional who avoids giving feedback, afraid of being seen as difficult. However, when she learns to express herself respectfully yet unapologetically, she gains trust and authority. Her voice becomes a tool for building, not for conflict. The repression of voice also manifests in the body. Women who don't say what they feel often carry pain in their throats, tension in their chests, or lingering anxiety. Energy never disappears. If it doesn't come out in words, it turns into weight. A high-vibration woman chooses a different path. Express before it explodes. This doesn't mean attacking, but setting clear boundaries. Silence hurts more than the hard conversation, because silence prolongs what should have already been resolved. By speaking her truth, she not only frees herself, but inspires others to do the same. Her courage opens space for other voices to rise as well. Together, they create a symphony of authenticity that no one can ignore. And it is here that the deepest revelation emerges. Behind all these attitudes lies a secret that sustains everything: radical self-respect. Behind every choice of a high-vibration woman lies a deep root: radical self-respect. It is not about inflated ego or arrogance, but about the firm decision to honor herself first. Because when she honors herself, the entire universe aligns to honor her too. Radical self-respect is saying no, even when her heart trembles at the fear of disappointing someone. It is recognizing that her time, her energy, and her peace are non-negotiable treasures. One who respects herself does not beg for attention, does not accept crumbs, and does not bargain with what is essential. This respect changes the way she relates to everything: to people, to work, to money, and even to her body. She no longer sees life as a chain of obligations, but as a dance of conscious choices. And in this dance, each step is firmer. Practical example: a professional who decides to stop working in companies that devalue her talent. At first, it seems risky, but by taking a stand, she makes room for opportunities more aligned with her essence. The universe responds when she shows, through action, that she knows her worth. Self-respect is also understanding that life does not need to be lived in a rush to prove anything to anyone. A high-vibration woman knows that walking at her own pace is a sign of wisdom, not weakness, and that the real victory is being whole throughout the process. The secret is not about shutting herself off from others, but about not losing herself for them. When she respects herself, her relationships become healthier because they come from fullness, not from lack. The respect she gives herself overflows to everyone around her. Radical self-respect is a daily pact, looking in the mirror and reaffirming, "I deserve to be honored." It is the kind of energy that even changes the way people treat her, because the world learns to respond to the standards she sets. And it is in this truth that the final conclusion reveals itself. Being a high-vibration woman is less about what she attracts and more about what she decides never again to accept. Being a high-vibration woman is not about living a perfect life, but about choosing, every day, what she no longer accepts in her journey. It is a daily pact with her essence, a silent commitment to authenticity. Every conscious no opens the way for an aligned yes. She understands that her vibration is not measured by what she achieves, but by the courage to release what imprisons her. True abundance lies not only in what enters her life, but also in what she refuses to allow. The no, in this case, is as sacred as the yes. The world often teaches that power means controlling others. But a high-vibration woman knows that power is self-mastery, the ability to choose her own path without fear of judgment. This freedom is what makes her presence magnetic. Practical example: when she decides not to accept a job that drains her, even if the salary is high, she is vibrating self-respect. And she quickly sees that doors more aligned with her essence open. The universe responds to clarity, not confusion. This conclusion is not an endpoint, but an invitation to a way of life. Every choice, every boundary, every truth expressed is a reminder that living in high vibration means living whole. It is walking without invisible chains, with the lightness of someone who knows who she is. And it is not about perfection, but about awareness. A conscious woman fails, makes mistakes, stumbles, but she never abandons herself. She rises every time because she knows her essence is worth more than any fall. This posture inspires other women, because when one decides not to shrink anymore, she lights the path for many. High vibration, after all, is not just individual. It is a collective movement that awakens the world. Closing. Vibration is not measured by what you attract, but by what you refuse to accept. And it is in this clear boundary that true freedom is born. Now you know. Vibration is not measured by what you attract, but by what you have the courage to refuse. Every boundary you set is a declaration of worth to the universe. And when you choose yourself, life begins to choose you too. The question is, what are you still allowing that drains your energy? Which attitudes will you leave behind starting today? The answer isn't for me, it's for you. But if you'd like, share it in the comments. Your voice might inspire another woman who also needs to break free. Remember, a high vibration woman is not born ready. She builds herself daily. And every choice you make from now on can be a brick in that construction. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be aware. If this message resonated with you, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. That way you'll keep receiving reflections to help you raise your frequency, protect your energy, and live aligned with who you truly are.